It's my pleasure to welcome you all to the Charles B. Wang Center and tonight's performance. We have been inviting Caroline Baldry and her team since 2014, almost annually. And she has been brought us a lot of well-known Asian folk tales. In the past, she has presented the lives of Buddha and Southeast Asian folk tales and Persian folk tale. Tonight, she's going to present a very special story, Miao Girl Kiab and the Silver Needles. This is a creative story. She was inspired by the people of Miao. And actually, this performance is presented in conjunction with our current exhibition. We are having an exhibition of tribal blanket from southern China entitled Auspicious Dream. We're presenting 39 blankets represented by 11 tribes, and we're showcasing 4 blankets from Miao people. Miao is the people of mountain-dwelling people who lives in southern China, Laos, and Myanmar, and Thailand, and Vietnam. So you will see their creative production made in blanket by unknown artisan. And tonight's show is based on their folk tale, so you will enjoy it a lot. So tonight we have 2 puppeteers, Susan Baldry and Caroline Baldry, and they are the mother and daughter team. Narrator, David McCookle, and pianist, Marina Nagichi. So you will enjoy their show. The show production is quite short, about 30 minutes, but we'll invite everybody to the backstage to show the hand manipulation with the puppets and then their creative entire production. So enjoy the show, and thank you so much for coming.
In the valley of the southern mountains of China, in a Miao village, there lived a little girl named Kiab. Kiab means cheerful, and indeed she was a very joyful little girl full of life and energy. Kiab lived with her parents and her older sister Ki. Every day, Kiab's father would go outside the village to work in the rice fields. Her mother stayed home, but sometimes would leave with the father to cut hemp to make thread. Kiab was dying to go with them, but the mother was very clear. No, Kiab. You stay home with Ki to work on your embroideries. Like all the little girls in her village, Kiab had learned embroidery since she was 5. But unlike her sister, who was very dedicated to sewing, Kiab was not very good at it because she didn't have the patience to stay still for long hours. She preferred to run outside after birds and butterflies. Ki regularly warned her sister, "You're gonna fall, Kiab. Stop pretending you're an acrobat." If you ruin the slippers Mother embroidered for you, you will be in trouble. Told you. There was, however, one thing for which Kiab could stay still for a long period of time. When she was watching her mother dye hemp cloth with indigo. First, her mother would draw on the white fabric with a teeny brush or a stick dipped in wax. It was hard to see exactly what she was drawing, and it was not very pretty. But Kiab knew that soon the magic would happen. When she was done drawing with the wax, Kiab's mother prepared a deep blue liquid by mixing indigo dye and cold water. Then she dipped the whole fabric into the blue liquid. The whole piece of fabric became dark blue, and Kiab could not see the wax drawings anymore. Then her mother would take the fabric out of the blue water, and after boiling clear water with salt, she would throw the fabric in to rinse it. The wax melted and revealed beautiful drawings. Butterflies, flowers, and fish would magically appear in white on the blue fabric. Kiab's mother would sometimes comment on her drawing. "This is Butterfly Mother, who gave birth to our ancestors and created our world. She is the origin of all creatures in the world. You see, Kiab, we always try to tell a story with our drawing, as we do with our embroideries. They're all unique, and by looking at them, people know who we are and where we come from." Soon you too, Kiab, will learn to draw with wax and dye fabric. But before that, you must perfect your embroideries. Look at your sister Ki. She is doing very well with her embroideries. Her wedding dress is turning quite well. Kiab had mixed feelings about that. She was happy that her beloved sister had chosen a future husband, but it also meant that her dear Ki would soon leave the house to live with her husband and his family. Kiab won't be able to spend hours playing and singing with her anymore. One of Kiab's neighbors was a silversmith named Wang Meng. Kiab loved to visit him when he was working in his workshop. His workshop was small and dark, but there was always a glow coming from the silver pieces shimmering all around the room. Kiab enjoyed seeing how Wang Meng could transform silver ingots into works of art by hammering constantly. The most delicate motifs would materialize under his small hammer. Birds, fish, flowers, little bells. The flame of the welding torch that Wang Meng was using to link the pieces together was a little scary, but the final result was always enchanting. Kiab especially loved the incredible silver headdress he was making for a wedding. "Ah, Kiab, here you are," said Wang Meng. "Perfect timing. I want you to put on that headdress. It is for a young girl who is getting married soon. I want to see if the little chains fall perfectly in place." Wang Meng placed the piece on Kiab's head. It was very heavy, but Kiab felt so proud wearing such a work of art, she did not complain. "You see, Kiab," said Wang Meng, "it's almost done. I just need to do a couple of adjustments." "How can you do this so quickly?" said Kiab. "Last week it was not even halfway done." "Ah, my father taught me the work for years. He passed me all of his secrets. He learned his skills from his father and grandfather before that. He told me that my grandfather was particularly gifted. He was famous for the very fine silver needles he was making. All the women in the village wanted one of his needles because they said they were so fine and so delicate that embroidery became very easy to make. Also, they said his needles never broke. Honestly, I don't know if it's true because I've never done embroidery myself. It's a different kind of talent." "Well, that's it, little Kiab. Thanks for your visit. You better go home now or you will be in trouble for being late." One morning, the two sisters were sitting outside the house. Kiab was watching Ki doing embroideries on her wedding dress when a big butterfly landed on Kiab's lap. "Where are you going, Kiab?" said Ki. "I just want to catch that butterfly," said Kiab, and off she went. Kiab had followed the big butterfly through the forest and up into the mountains. At this point, she was far from home and close to the river. She could almost hear the voice of her mother warning her, "Don't go too close to the river, Kiab. People say that a dragon lives there. A long time ago, the dragon ate the son of poor old Bao Gong Ha, fisherman. Be careful." Kiab did not really believe this story, but she had promised her mother to never go too close to the water. But this time was different. She really wanted to catch that butterfly. As she approached the water and saw the reeds, she saw something shining in the water. What could it be? Kiab came closer and closer. It was a silver needle, a beautiful sculpted silver needle used for embroidery. Who was the talented silversmith who had crafted this needle? Could it be Wang Meng's grandfather, Kiab wondered? And what was that beautiful work doing there in the river? Someone must have lost it, Kiab thought. Kiab removed her slippers to go into the river. She just needed to put one foot in the water to pick up the silver needle. But as she grabbed the needle and put it in her pocket, she saw it. From the bottom of the water, the huge face of the dragon was watching her. Kiab was fascinated, almost hypnotized by the gaze of the dragon. She could not move. She was so terrified she stopped breathing. She opened her mouth to scream, but no sound came out of her mouth. The beast was swimming toward her, closer, closer. As it came very close, Kiab jumped back on the riverbank and fell into the reeds. One of her slippers fell into the water. The dragon grabbed the slipper, dived down, and disappeared into the river. Kiab tried to shout for help, but no sound came out of her mouth. Quickly, she stood back up and started running down the mountain to go home, all wet and with only one slipper. Kiab finally made it home. Her mother was there and said, "Ah, here you are. Where were you? We were worried." But Kiab could not talk. She was shivering and crying silently. "And why are you all wet? Why do you only have one slipper? Talk!" But Kiab could not say a word. She could only cry. "Stop crying! What happened to you?" But Kiab could only cry and lower her head. "Why can't you speak?" Kiab hid her face and kept crying. Then her father came back from the rice fields. Her mother explained, "Something happened to Kiab, but she does not want to talk. She's just crying. She lost a slipper too, and she's all wet. I'm sure she fell in the water." "Well, let her put dry clothes on," said the father, "and let's all have dinner. Maybe she will feel better and will explain it to us then." At dinner time, Kiab ate silently as her father and her mother and Ki were talking. After dinner, her mother asked her again, "Now, Kiab, are you going to tell us what happened?" But her father said, "Let her go to bed. After a good night's sleep, maybe she will feel better and explain it to us all tomorrow." The following morning, Kiab's mother asked her again, "Kiab, do not be afraid to tell us what happened to you." Kiab opened her mouth to talk, but no sound came out. She became agitated and frustrated. She could just cry in silence. As she was leaving for the fields, her mother said, "Do not worry, little Kiab. When you're ready to talk, we will be here to listen." That made Kiab cry even more. Her mother went outside to pick up more hemp. Kiab stayed inside, sitting and crying in silence. Ki was working on her embroidery. "You know you're very annoying," she said to Kiab. "Stop crying like that. You could at least help me sew my wedding dress. Why don't you work on the pleated skirt?" Kiab picked up a needle from her sister's basket and a piece of red thread. She took the skirt. It was heavy, so many yards of fabric all pleated neatly by her mother. After 2 stitches, Kiab broke the thread. She started over again, this time threading the needle with blue cotton. But she kept breaking the thread every 3 or 4 stitches. Then she broke the needle and sighed heavily. "Do not be upset," Kiab said Ki softly. "Embroidery requires patience and gentleness." At this very moment, Kiab remembered the silver needle she had found in the river. That silver needle that had caused her so much trouble was still in her pocket. She took it out, threaded it with yellow cotton, and started over with the embroidery. Her fingers seemed more agile. The fabric felt lighter. It was as if the needle was magically going through the skirt by itself. Kiab was running the yellow thread effortlessly and gracefully between the pleats. Every time Kiab picked up a new color, the thread passed so smoothly into the needle eye that Kiab could almost do it without looking. She spent the afternoon quietly sewing with her sister. For the first time since the encounter with the terrifying dragon, Kiab felt calm and at peace. She enjoyed embroidering her sister's skirt. But when Ki tried to look at what her sister was doing, Kiab folded the skirt back and shook her head. Her mother came back from the field and saw the 2 sisters quietly sewing together. It made her feel better. "Ah, little Kiab, I'm glad you're working with Ki. Can I see what you're doing?" But Kiab shook her head. And Ki said, "I guess we'll have to wait to see her work. She will show it to us when she is ready." "Yes," said her mother, "like with telling us what happened yesterday. I guess she will tell us when she's ready to speak." One month passed since Kiab had lost her voice. She had spent the whole time working silently on her embroideries on her sister's wedding skirt. Then one morning, after stitching one flower, Kiab put down her needle, got up, and took her mother by the hand. She silently pointed to the pleated skirt. She was ready to show them her work. Kiab unfolded the skirt and showed her beautiful work to her mother. And there it was, her whole story, all told through embroidery. The chase after the big butterfly, the trees, the river, the silver needle, the dragon in the water, the slipper falling into the river. She had even embroidered all the plants along the river bank. Her mother finally understood what had happened to her daughter. She took Kiab in her arms, hugged her very tightly, and said, "Oh, little Kiab, this is so beautiful. Do not worry, do not cry anymore. I have a surprise for you." And her mother pulled out a pair of slippers that she had secretly embroidered with butterflies for her little daughter. She gave them to Kiab. With a big smile on her face, Kiab took the slippers, opened her mouth to shout aloud, "Thank you, Mother!" Her own loud voice surprised even Kiab herself. Her mother rejoiced. Kiab had finally recovered her voice. "I'm so relieved," said her mother. The little cheerful Kiab was back to being herself, and the house could again resonate with sounds of songs. From this day on, Kiab sat more and more often with her sister to do their embroideries, and now she enjoyed it. From time to time, she still climbed trees and she still chased a butterfly, but she never went back to the river. Kiab never knew if the silver needle was truly magical, but she kept it in a little purse in her pocket. She had planned to use it to embroider her future wedding dress, and one day when the time comes, she will pass it to her own daughter.
little girl is walking. It's like an old animated movie. She's moving the landscape that she drew on the old transparent. It's very archaic material, you know. Teacher used to do that. I'm sure that you haven't seen any of your teacher using that anymore. An old overhead projector. And this is how we see all the scene going, and we pretend that the little girl is walking. It's like an old cartoony. And then we have two scale of puppet. We have the, like sometimes you see in a movie, they zoom on the face of the character. It's what we do here with this big puppet. And we move them with a, you want to try it? So the hand you were seeing, except my hand at the end doing the sewing on the skirt, otherwise it's their hand, which are actually bigger than mine. And the mother is a little more complicated because she can move her head and she can move her two hands. So it's
This one has, throughout the story, she says different things. So there's two different hands for the different hand movements. One where she's pointing and one where they embrace. But this one, the head actually moves, where the other ones are quite more static. And one thing a lot of people usually ask is about the colors used. And by using clear gel paper, the light still goes through. So even though everything else that's black is technically opaque, anything that's translucent will show a little bit of color.
you have to let the light go through in order to see. That's, you know. I'm not sure if you could see it from the room, but we had little light for his workshop.
So it creates like a secondary.
And the butterfly is almost a real one. No, it's in paper, but. And the moon. And then we have just a flashlight. But we have the light here competing, so it's hard to. And you see, the closer I come, the smaller the image is. And of course. So it's the same with any other puppet. The closer you come, the smaller the image is, but the more defined.